Hey, hi, howdy, hello. I thought I would start us off with some cool stuff today.
Power on. Bluetooth pairing.
Um, who knows where this stream will go today.
Bluetooth connected.
Um, I thought we'd start with some paranormal ghost story stuff. Because we've done two 40k streams so far, and I don't want to overdo that.
Board. Starting off this countdown, we have Bloody Mary. I wish I was talking about the cocktail here, but I'm not. Now, I feel like most of you have heard of this game. It was super popular when I was a kid, and I played it lots. So I'm surprised I'm not cursed. Anyways, there are a number of different ways to play the game. So the most common one is to go into a dark bathroom, look into the mirror, and chant Bloody Mary 3 times. Some say you must surround yourself by candles. Others claim you have to spin around while saying her name. Or you have to say, Bloody Mary, I believe in you. This supposedly summons Bloody Mary. And if it works, she will reach out of the mirror and scratch you. Or grab you and pull you back into the mirror with her. Apparently, Bloody Mary is described as a rotting, skeleton-looking woman with long, sharp nails, rotting flesh, and matted, dirty, and bloody hair. Some say she's eyeless. Others say she wears the eyes of her past victims. Either way, not a game I ever want to play again. In our 9th spot, we have the Devil's Face. This is the game for you if you have ever wanted to see what the devil looks like. Basically, it's simple. Go to your bathroom at night right before midnight. Stand in front of the dark mirror and close your eyes. When the clock strikes midnight, open your eyes and stare into the mirror. You should see the devil staring right back at you. Yeah.
Why would you do
the
that?
devil. In our 8th spot, we have Charlie Charlie. This game seems simple enough. Get a piece of paper, draw a grid on it so that there are 4 different sections, and write yes and no in the boxes. Then take 2 pencils and balance one on top of the other. Start the game by saying, Charlie Charlie, are you here? If he is, the pencils will move and it should point to yes. Then you can start to ask him yes or no questions. Now, who exactly is this Charlie boy? Well, it ain't Charlie Brown, that's for sure. Now, there are a number of versions. One claims he's a demon from Mexico. Others say he's the ghost of someone who took their own life, or the ghost of someone that died in a tragic accident. Either way, I'm not trying to contact nobody from the afterlife. No, thank you. Especially because Charlie has sinister intentions. Now, guys, before I go any further, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. You know the drill, because it really helps us out. Game. This game, if done correctly, will summon a demon into your own home. Again, why is this considered a game? What's scary is that this game is fairly easy. Yeah, it's easy to summon demons. Great. Anyways, all you have to do is stand in your closet in the night
I feel like
with an
there should
unlit
be
match. Then out loud you have to say, oh, I don't even want to say it. Show me the light or leave me in the darkness. Once you hear a faint whisper, light up the match. Oh,
or don't.
Shivers. Ugh. If you don't, you will be dragged off into the darkness.
Or
if you
just
light
don't
it in
play that
time,
game.
you're safe from this demon. But now, you've invited it to live in your closet. And you always have to shut the closet door every night before bed. And you can never look inside the closet without a light on. Moving on to number 6, we have the elevator game. I think this one has to be one of the scariest games on this list. And I don't know why it's considered a game. Like, it's not fun, and it can cause death or possession. The elevator game is said to be one of the world's most dangerous games. Now, there are a bunch of rules you have to follow. When done correctly, you can visit another world. Basically, you have to be in an elevator that has at least 10 floors. When you're in the elevator, you have to press the floor buttons in a specific order. I ain't telling you because you guys aren't playing this game. After doing so, you press the 5th floor and a woman will enter the elevator with you. This woman is not alive, and it is deadly if you look or talk to her. Then you're supposed to go to the 10th floor, which will bring you to another dimension. The other world is identical to ours, but with slight differences. Like maybe the lights will be off and electronics won't work. And you can encounter ghosts. Now there are reports of people who have played this game. Some have said that they ended up looking at this woman and now she haunts them. Others claim that some sort of entity has followed them home. Seriously, do not try this game whatever you do. You might get trapped in another world and not be able to get back. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the 3 Kings. For this game, you need a large empty room without windows, candles, a bucket of water, and a mug, a fan, 2 large mirrors, 3 chairs, an alarm clock, and a bunch of other stuff. Now, the steps for this to work are pretty elaborate. To play this game, you need to set up the mirrors facing each other with a chair in the middle.
Oh.
The chair is your throne. You're the king. The other chairs are the queen and the...
Oh, by the way, guys. I'm going to point this out with a corner. If you notice these lines here, they are intentional. This is a glow-in-the-dark painting, which means this like slightly yellow tinge here and around like these little suckers here means it'll glow in the dark. I will show you guys later what that would look like when I get it done. But the unicorn that I finished last night also glows in the dark, and it looks pretty badass. So if you notice lines on some of the stuff I'm doing, it's because they're glow-in-the-dark pictures. So, yes, it's intentionally left that way. You can tint this right here, but it kind of takes away from the glow effect a little bit. But I will be tinting the eyes a little. Anyway. I think I want to do Ouija board stories instead of urban legends, though. So I think I'm going to change that. Because I've already heard the ghost games. Alright,
Stay with me about the top 10 scary Ouija board stories. I've never played with an Ouija board really or any kind of occult games. The reason isn't so much that I'm afraid of ghosts, but I know that I can play tricks. I don't really want to freak myself out today. If you guys want to connect with me on social media, there is a link to my Instagram in the description box. Alright, let's get on with this the video. Coming into next, we have the Mexican possession. Americans 22-year-old Alexandra Puerto and her twin San Juan Talacento at the time. It seems that the trio entered a trance-like state, with Alexandra later succumbing to growling. The boys were also said to show signs of possession, saying that they were going blind and deaf and suffering hallucinations. The trio's story ended up in the Daily Mail, where we can see pictures of the possessed young adults. It seems that they were admitted to hospital after a medical rescue. The town spokesman, Victor Demassa, said that it was very complicated. He said that the trio were suffering from involuntary movements, which made transporting them difficult. Local priests refused to perform an exorcism on the American citizens as they weren't local churchgoers. The parents of the young adults said that they were saved with painkillers, anti-stress meds, and eye drops. Whether or not they were actually possessed or they just convinced themselves that they were, we don't know. By the way, I have to say it was pretty terrifying. This girl managed to get possessed by an online Ouija board. This is very 21st century at number 9. That's right, at number 9 we have paramedics for Patricia. Patricia Quisepi was possessed after playing with an Ouija board at app on her phone. Shocking footage of her purported demonic possession was recorded and then circulated on the internet. Doctors were called to the scene and she struggled for over half an hour before she was finally restrained. You can actually see some of the footage here. So creepy. She does appear to be talking in a deep voice as if she is inhabited by a demon. The woman from Lima in Peru had been playing with her friends on the mobile version of the board game. Who knew spirits were so tech savvy? This next story is also from Peru. We have 30 screaming kids at number 8. In Peru in 2018, 30 kids suffered from mass hysteria after a kid brought in a Ouija board and a book of black magic to school. It turns out that the young girl was the daughter of a teacher in San Jose de Samarillo. This is in the Loreto region of Peru. Now there's a video of one of the girls who used the board acting possessed and screaming. It's very intense. It seems like she's saying this is your fault, amongst other things. The school involved suspended classes for a week following the incident, and parents of the children involved were said to have taken their kids to evangelical churches in the area. Coming into number 7, we have The Shattering. YouTuber Mellow Bird is known for his beliefs in the paranormal. His whole YouTube channel is made up of videos of ghosts, ghouls, and other paranormal occurrences. In one video, he is seen playing with a Ouija board, only this happens. Have a look. Okay, let's have a look even slower and see what we think. Is this legit? Honestly, it really does seem to shatter. It also seems that he had a very angry poltergeist in the room, like, yikes. This is, I guess, why you don't play with Ouija boards. I don't want glass in my hand. Coming into number 6, we have the McDonald's Ouija board. In 2014, this image of a Happy Meal was circulated online. Now, it seems that the fast food giants were embracing Halloween by experimenting with spookier marketing. The only thing is, well, how appropriate is it to give your kids a tool to contact the dead? Aside a seance with your burger and fries? Like, I don't know. Honestly, it's not very appropriate at all, but it does turn out it was just a joke by actress and paranormal investigator Amy Bruni. That being said, hundreds of thousands of people believed it when her post on Facebook went viral. Scarily for Amy, the joke resulted in her receiving actual death threats. In August 2014, Amy tweeted, "True story, more than one person has wished death on me and my family because I posted the McDonald's Ouija board Happy Meal joke." I know, the internet's a sensitive place. Save your jokes. Save them. Okay, that may have been a joke, but bear this in mind. At number 5, we have the bestseller. Scarier than a lot of things on this list, Hasbro Games, the kids' board game company behind Operation, Bop It, Connect 4, and Hungry Hungry Hippos, actually own the rights to Ouija boards these days, and they're a big bestseller. Mediums are particularly disturbed by the success of the game, claiming that it is not a toy. Over the Christmas 2014 period, the game saw a particular upsurge in sales. Should we be worried that more and more people are contacting the dead as a means of entertainment? Honestly, I think so. Coming into number 4, we have With You. On BuzzFeed, editors ask...
Hold up. Now that she said that, I feel like I need to... Listen. I know around Halloween and like the spooky season, as it were, you can become tempted to play with a Ouija board. But let me remind you, love you, let it go, that Ouija boards are not toys. Do not purchase them for your children. They are actually a pagan tool utilized in certain things they do. And there's a way to do it and a way not to do it. And if you're buying it to use as a toy, you're being insanely disrespectful to an entire culture of people. Because paganism and a toy, a fad, a trend. It's a belief system and a religion of sorts. And you're kind of poking fun at that. Do I believe in Ouija boards actually working? I believe they can be dangerous. Absolutely. In the wrong hands. Because while my beliefs in ghosts are kind of iffy at times, I do believe in good and bad spirits. Now, whether you would call those ghosts or whatever, is up to you. But I do believe in spirits, yeah. And I believe toying with a realm you don't understand is probably a bad idea. And making a lot of other people's religious beliefs is probably inconsiderate at best. Because, like, if you're a Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, pagan, doesn't matter to me. I respect your beliefs. But for your beliefs to be respected, I think you should also respect other cultures and their beliefs. And I don't think playing with the spirit realm is a respectful thing to do. And I think if you do that and you get bad results, which you probably will get bad results if you go into it disrespectfully by whatever may be on the other side of that board, because you don't know what's on the other side of that board. You don't know if it's a ghost, a spirit, or some would call them demons. You don't know. And not all spirits are honest or sincere or good. Yes. If you play with a Ouija board, you will summon khaki. And nobody wants to summon a khaki. So be respectful. Or else you will get khaki.
Members of the BuzzFeed community to write in their scary Ouija experiences. They then made a post compiling the responses. Now, this story jumped out from Josie C41. She wrote, I got my board after months of harmless paranormal activity in my house. When I contacted something, the planchette started doing figure of eights across the board, which is a huge no-no. That means something demonic was present. I didn't touch it for months, but when I tried again, I asked where the spirit was in the room. It was at that point that she said her vision went spotty. She said, I saw a vivid image in my head jerking back, and the words, with you, were whispered into my ear by something I couldn't see. Woo! She went on to say that she sold the board, and honestly, I can't blame her. This is not what you want at all. Like, can you even imagine? You already think you're going mad, but you buy an Ouija board just to make sure that you aren't being haunted. Then it turns out that you are. There's a spirit, and it's not even a nice one. It's a nasty one. Coming into number 3, we have Zozo. Zozo is said to be a demon that regularly pops up when people use Ouija boards, and he is not a good presence. Zozo was first brought into wider public knowledge when a man named Darren Wayne Evans mentioned him on a message board called The True Ghost Tales. The thread from Evans was intended to warn others about the dangers of using an Ouija. He said, during my experience with Ouija boards, one particular spirit always seemed compelled to make its presence known. Its name is Zozo. He continued the post by saying, today I refuse to even pronounce its name, as I believe the mere pronunciation of it can cause it to manifest itself. Too many times to count, it has at first pretended to be a nice spirit, or pretended to be whomever I was trying to contact, but eventually it showed its true self, cussing me, threatening me, and others present in the room. He also wrote that the demon attacked his family and caused him extreme bouts of bad luck. While Some skeptics believe that Evans made up the demon, it seems that other mentions of Zozo have cropped up from unlucky Ouija users. It is thought that Zozo may be another name for the demon Pazuzu, the demon suspected in the Roland Doe case, the inspiration behind the Exorcist movie. Experts say that you know you're in the company of Zozo if the planchette is moving to the Z, or drawing a figure of 8 between the Z and the O. Zozo is also said to sometimes leave scratches on people's bodies. You know what? Maybe that's what happened here at number 2. That's right, at number 2, we have a full-on dose of scratching. 5 years ago, Redditor Bofontes wrote a post called "Do Not Use an Ouija Board." They said they were sharing an update and photos. They shared 3 scary pictures saying that this was...
What do you mean the demon is spot on? You mean showing up uninvited, completely and totally, you can't get rid of it, it's completely annoying, it's horrible and unbearable? So by all of those descriptions, I would have to assume she's talking about khaki.
Was what happened to them as a result of using a homemade Ouija board. The scratches on his
God,
back and
khaki is
chest look
Zozo.
particularly nasty. Did he encounter Zozo? In this post, he said that when he asked the spirit if it was them who scratched him, they said yes, replying that they were there specifically for him.
I knew she was
and they weren't
ancient,
gonna
but goddamn, I
leave.
didn't know
Honestly,
she
I
was
feel like
that
I need an
ancient.
update. One person who commented on the thread was very concerned. NinKiwi007 wrote, "Bro, one of those groups of scratches is the Trinity. You can guess its description by its name, 3 scratches. That means it's definitely something demonic. You need to leave. If it follows you, get help. Don't try to handle this by yourself. This is bad, and if you aren't already, you should take this very seriously." Okay, that's pretty stressful. I don't know what I would do other than not use an Ouija board. Finally, coming into number 1, we have The Story of Veronica. Some of you may have watched the popular Netflix movie Veronica, which is hailed as one of the best modern scary movies. The film itself is truly chilling, with some calling it too scary to even finish. It is about a girl in Madrid that accidentally invokes a demon when she gets a drop of her blood on the glass planchette. Things don't end so well for her, but I think that you should watch the movie. The reason I bring it up is that the film is actually loosely based on real life events, which I think are even scarier. Esther Gina Guatarez Lazaro died suddenly in August 1991, and her parents were convinced it was to do with her interest in the occult and playing with an Ouija board. It seems that the girl had joined a group, a seance, that went wrong, after which she was plagued by seizures and hallucinations. After her death around a year later, her parents were still haunted. They claimed that doors would slam in their home and shadowy figures would lurk in corners. They even said that they felt a spirit trying to physically harm them and went around turning crucifixes in their home upside down. In the end, her surviving family moved from their home and offloaded the possessed spirit of their dead daughter. Someone else's problem, I guess. So guys, that was a scary list. Which of these stories did you find the scariest? Let me know in the comment section down below. Before I go though, I just want to read some comments from a recent video, The Scary Road Trips Part 3. FLCL said, "The picture is of forest spirits. They're harmless as long as you leave them be." Honestly, I think I will leave them be. Matthew Boyajan said, "More legends of vampires and werewolves." You know, I think we can do that. Shwana J said, "Rebecca, I flipping miss you." Don't worry, I'm here every 3rd video, so there's no real need to miss me, but I'm glad that you want me here. Hooray! Alright, I'll be back very, very soon. And until then, please do leave a thumbs up on this video, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. Bye!
Alright, so starting off this countdown at number 10, we have possession. We were just talking about it. So I don't know which idiot would even do this, but never ask a demon to possess you. What?
But people actually do that. People do ask a demon to possess them.
Spirits just love possessing humans anyway, so the fact that some idiot would be dumb enough to actually invite them to do so is like a free pass. They will do it, and you will lose your free will, as a spirit will literally live in you as you. You don't even know what entity you're dealing with on the other side. You could literally be asking Beelzebub to possess you, and you'd have no one to blame but yourself.
I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious to not ask the board about possession or for a spirit to possess you, but you'd be surprised about the number of people that actually ask these questions. Seriously, you think it's cool to start foaming at your mouth and have blood pouring out from your eyes as you start crawling on all fours? Nah, you are getting sent straight to an asylum where you will spend your life locked away.
I just don't like when they crawl on all fours. How do you do that with your, how do you do that? How do you do that? That's actually
Their spine is like in half.
Oh,
like,
no.
I don't know how spirits do that.
Coming in at number 9 is illness. I don't know why I said it with a smile, but we're gonna go with this. Now, when you're communicating with spirits in the afterlife, a very common question anyone would want to ask is about their own health. I mean, their ghosts, surely they know more than we do. I mean, that's the least I expect. Now, you're there using the board, hoping to find out if you're getting sick, if you're already sick, if someone you love is sick, or so on. And I get it, why wouldn't you want to know in advance so you could prevent it? But multiple paranormal experts alike claim you shouldn't ask Ouija board questions regarding disease, illness, treatment, or anything like that, and they have good reason to think so. For one, the entity you could be talking to could have died in like 1864, meaning they have zero knowledge of modern healthcare practices and could probably misdiagnose you and tell you have like the bubonic plague when you really just have bronchitis. Secondly, the answer could stress you out and not even be true, and the stress would then weaken your immune system and get you sick, aka the whole thing would turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. All in all, don't do it, lads. At number 8, we have the future, and believe me, we know how tempting it would be to ask a Ouija entity about your future. Like, I want to know so many things. When will I get married? To who? What will life be like? Will Trump ever get impeached, etc.? But you shouldn't do it. Things change all the time. The future isn't set in stone, so what could the entity even tell you? I mean, that honestly really depends on what you believe. Muslims believe that your life is pre-written, so there's a course your life is meant to follow, whereas others believe it's constantly changing.
And spirits may not have all the answers that we're looking for. I mean, I don't think they have harnessed the power of time travel. As a result, whatever answers you get from them, probably made up. Maybe they say something extremely terrifying, like that we all die from a big pandemic.
That's too close to home, Lindsay.
Sorry.
It's too soon to make those jokes.
Knowing this information would probably scare the crap out of you and drive you insane. Not only this, but maybe you will contact a demon that purposely wants to mess with your head. And so they will say some messed up things about the future just to scare you.
Like, I'm already battling with so many already internal demons, I don't need any more. You know what I mean? Goodbye.
Making our way down the list at number 7, we have the cause of death. When using a Ouija board, you are communicating with a once living soul. If you begin prying into their personal life, it may upset them, especially if you start asking questions about how they died. I think it's safe to say that they probably don't enjoy being dead, and so they will probably be very uncomfortable if you start asking them about it. Keep in mind, you're the living one and they aren't. They are jealous that you are still alive and that they are no longer. If you keep asking them questions about death, then they may become upset. And that's the last thing you want to do, make a spirit angry. How would you feel if you suffered a tragic death and next thing you know, a little 16-year-old named Brittany is fooling around with the board making jokes about your death? I know that would piss me off. And who knows what kind of abilities they have. Anger them enough and they could make you pay. This is exactly what happened to a group of friends. Apparently they summoned a spirit with the board and started asking intimate questions about their death. Next thing you know, the spirit knocked over a candle and that caught a bunch of paper towels on fire and half of the kids' living room got burnt down. So, just saying.
Okay, now at number 6 are jokes. Now this one made me laugh before I even started talking about it, honestly, and I know I didn't do it, but in my head I did. Now look, I totally get it. You're sitting there, barbecue sauce on your titties, and you think to yourself, now I could wipe this sauce off, or I could just play with a Ouija board. You go with the latter, your friends are all over, barbecue sauce on their titties as well, and the one class clown in your group is feeling rather funny and thinks it's smart to start the session off with a joke. First of all, RIP, because that kid's getting possessed and killed first, but secondly, Ouija Ouija entities cannot take a joke. They probably don't even know what a joke is. It's not in their purgatory vocabulary. All they know is death and suffering. Do you really think the entity is just gonna flicker the lights or something to signal to you that they laughed? No, they're gonna send a piece of window shard straight through your eye, mate.
I was just thinking of a ghost being like, ha. Honestly, exactly what she said. I mean, maybe they could do like a knock-knock joke, but still, nothing is funny when it comes to the spirit world. It needs to be taken pretty seriously.
What if like the entity is trying to make a joke by like lighting something on fire or something? It's like we have different definitions of
Yeah,
humor.
exactly.
This is not funny. Coming in at number 5 is murder. I understand that spirits and entities on the other side of the Ouija board kind of get a bad rep. We've seen the movies, we've heard the stories. Hell, I'd like a 5-part series on Ouija boards that destroyed lives, so believe me when I say these spirits are not received well. But the one cardinal rule of Ouija boards, other than always closing your session, is to never ask the entity if they're going to kill you. Firstly, it's bloody rude. You can't just generalize all Ouija spirits and assume the one you're talking to is evil and full of bloodlust. Spirits have feelings too, and some are actually nice. Some just want to talk, like how about you ask them how their day was for once? Purgatory sucks. Okay, sorry. I digress. This question could also be viewed as disrespectful towards a spirit, which could anger them and make them overstay their welcome. Or if they weren't planning to kill you before, they probably are now. So, adios, amigo.
Coming in at number 4 is the spirit's presence. There's a lot of people out there that want to witness paranormal activity firsthand. We like to call these people crazies. No, I'm just kidding. I understand where they're coming from. Like, like,
Dude, round eye, you would totally, definitely do that because you're an ass. Hey, Aziz. Hey, Sam. I would be that one ghost that actually did tell jokes. I would be the asshole ghost that tells you constantly to look behind you, or I'm behind the door, or I'm breathing in your ear, or some weird shit just to mess with you. I would totally spend my afterlife being a practical joker to unsuspecting dumbasses who want to play with Ouija boards.
in order to make up their mind about whether or not ghosts are real, they kind of need to experience it firsthand.
I'll be
But
right back. I gotta
whenever
go
you
grab my
do,
plug.
do not ask a spirit to show themselves or to make noise. There's way too many scary movies out there where this happens and they are
definitely
greeted
do
with a
that,
terrifying
Rama.
pop-up of a disfigured face. So, do you really want to see that?
Definitely not. I would for sure defecate on the spot. Now, sometimes a spirit isn't malevolent and shows you it's there by opening a door or manifesting a gust of wind, but most spirits are dark and will manifest by possessing your friend or throwing the board against the wall. They're already answering your questions by moving the planchette. You don't need to disrespect them further by being like, oh, can you just confirm you're real and not a myth? Cheers.
Coming in at number 3, we have Don't Ask About Zozo. If you are new to the spirit realm, you may be wondering, Lindsay, who or what is Zozo? Well, Zozo is a sinister demon that is known to harm or trick Ouija board players. Zozo has been linked to murders and suicides all throughout the world. He has caused mental and physical harm to players, and in one situation, he was responsible for the near death of a young kid. Zozo will often wait until the players are vulnerable and then he will harm them. He may also pretend to be a friendly spirit, will try to befriend you, and then trick and harm you. In fact, some players who contacted Zozo have been subjected to extreme bad luck, and others have become very depressed. So I recommend never asking questions about Zozo, like, can I speak to Zozo? Trust me, you don't want to mess around with this demon.
Now, and number 2 is how you're going to die. Now, I've thought about this question so much. Like, would I want to know how I'm gonna die? Like, of course, on one hand, I'd like to know, because then I could spend the rest of my life preparing for it, because not gonna lie, I'm terrified of dying. On the other hand, I'd rather not know, so it's not like a cloud hanging over my head for the rest of my life. I already have the depression cloud, I don't need another one. The reason you should never ask a Ouija spirit about your death is simply because they may not know, or the answer could change. Would you ask?
No, are you crazy?
I would want to know.
No, I wouldn't want to know. I'd be like huddled in a corner like,
Save me.
So let's say the board tells you that you're gonna die in a car crash. Well, wouldn't that make you terrified of driving? You get in your car every day wondering what day is going to be your last. It could cause you to become overly anxious or overly cautious. Either way, you would be fearing for your life.
I just legit lit some sage. Because I'm like, nope, not getting haunted by this podcast. Nope. Oh, that's funny, Sam. I would just tell horribly cheesy jokes. But yes. Also, a good piece of advice if you're listening to paranormal stories, watching paranormal shows, I would strongly suggest investing in Sage. Funny story. Not really funny, actually. Not funny at all. I listened to and watched a lot of paranormal ghost shows, as it were, and didn't realize that spirits can travel through things. And I got haunted that way. So I will suggest Sage. And I am burning some now. Because I am not going through that again.
Daily. And in our number one spot, we have the death date. Listen carefully when I say this, okay? Never, and I mean never, under any circumstance, ask the board when you're going to die. I mean, that seems like a given, but you wouldn't believe the number of people that ask the board this question. So, for starters, who even wants to know the day they're going to die? I certainly don't. But anyways, it's safe to say that you would be scared out of your mind if the board told you that you were going to die soon. Not only that, but maybe the spirit is an evil one that will try and manipulate you with this date so that you purposely fear for your life. Over on Reddit, there are tons of concerned posts from people who were told that they only had a month left to live. They were too scared to go outside and continue to live a normal life. It completely ruined their life for a month. Not only that, but you could create a self-fulfilling prophecy and die on the date that the board said you would. This happened to one man. He was told he had only a couple weeks left to live and he became super ill. He felt sick all the time and did pass away on the exact date, but he died from dehydration and malnutrition. He just wasn't caring for himself properly, and that's why he died. Starting off this countdown at number 10, we have Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare is a sleepover classic, but it's one to only play with living people. Maybe you're tired of the innocent conversations with the Ouija board and want to, spice things up a bit. So you decide to play Truth or Dare. Two things might happen. One, they pick truth and everything goes wrong. Or two, they pick dare and everything goes wrong. Like, seriously, what if they dare you to do something dangerous? If you don't do it, most likely they won't stop terrorizing you until you do. Anybody seen the movie Truth or Dare with Lucy Hale? Yeah, I'm thinking stuff like that will happen. You don't do the truth or dare, and they will kill you.
That movie was trippy as hell. And what makes you guys so sure the entity will even be telling the truth? They literally have nothing to lose from lying or telling the truth. And if I was them, I would definitely just mess around just for fun. If I'm stuck in some boring ass afterlife, I may as well have some fun with it, And there's only so many things you can dare the entity to do. Like, there's only so many times it can make the light flicker or the air around you cold, or it could literally just end you because it started playing its own game. No one knows.
It's true.
Coming in at number 9 is the devil. I don't know why I said that with a big smile on my face, but whatever. Under no circumstances should you ever be dumb enough to ask a Ouija entity about the devil.
Oh,
There is a reason these spirits never crossed over or went into the light. They're being kept.
I need to do something real quick before I forget, because I've apparently already forgotten. Hang on just a second. We will come right back to this. But anyway, hang on. All right. If you feel like tipping your host, there are the ways you can do that.
Kept on earth as punishment in purgatory by the devil, most likely. Do you really want to ask an entity that can take you out no problem about the ever-powerful devil that ruined their afterlife? No, no you don't. That's just adding insult to injury. You may as well just rub salt in their non-existent wounds. That's like asking someone who got murdered about their murderer, like, what were they wearing? What were they like? Were they
And
good-looking,
the cash out.
You're asking to be possessed at that point, or at least thrown against a wall. Have some common courtesy, people. Ouija entities have feelings too. The devil is a major no-go. Not now, and not ever. It is so risky. Like, the entity you're speaking to could be hella dangerous already. And then you want to go on top of that and talk about the daddy of all sin and evil. Nah, B, that's not me.
Moving on to number 8, we have the friendship. Okay, so I understand maybe you're lonely in quarantine. You can't see your friends, you're locked away in your house, and all you want is someone to pass.
I made a boo-boo. Hang on. There, I fixed it.
Someone to pass the time with. But whatever you do, please don't ask the spirits if they want to be your friend.
Hang on.
Sure, you two could chill out together, but most likely
It's okay as is. I'm just putting that up there for people who want to tip the host. If they feel like doing it, great. If they don't, that's fine too. That's just for the people who feel like doing it. It's no big deal.
something will go wrong. Okay, so let's say that you do manage to contact a pleasant spirit and they really do want to be friends. Well, what happens when you don't pay attention to them every day? You just brought a spirit into our world and aren't spending time with it. Hello, you're gonna hurt their feelings, and they probably will become aggressive if they see you hanging out with other people and not them. Ghosts are very territorial like that. On the other hand, if you contact an evil spirit, do you know what that means? The dude's going to pretend to be your friend, then try to possess you or harm you when you least expect it. So don't ask to be friends. You aren't going to summon Casper the Friendly Ghost. I can assure you that. In our 7th spot, we have the dumb questions. Want to know another way to annoy spirits? Just bombard them with dumb questions. Seriously, this board is no joke. It needs to be taken seriously. But if you fool around and torment the spirits or make fun of them, then you're just asking for trouble. Like, seriously, imagine trying to sleep and someone keeps ringing your doorbell saying things like, oh my god, why don't arm or leg hairs have split ends? Like, stupid questions like that.
But why don't they have split ends? You know, I never actually thought of that.
I don't know. I guess they're not thick enough.
That would also be weird.
And they're not, I know, can you imagine like a big long hair?
Yeah. Spirit just let's take it out.
No.
Anyway, on the flip side, I completely understand why people would turn towards asking dumb questions. They may be too scared to delve into deeper questions, either fearing for the answer or fearing the entity itself. So to compensate, they just ask casual dumb questions, which again isn't gonna end well, because the spirit's gonna be like, you summoned me for this. How to waste my time at 2K20. Now, at number 6 is swearing. Do I even have to say this? Surely this is common sense. I feel like this is a thing that occurs more with non-believers and skeptics that try and play with a Ouija board. They don't take it seriously because they think nothing bad will happen to them and then start faffing about and spelling out a swear word within their question. In what way, shape, or form, or even plane of existence would that go down well? But I'm trying to put my faith in humans and give them the benefit of the doubt by just assuming this almost exclusively happens when someone is inebriated and playing with a Ouija board. Also, something you should never do, never ask them questions when you're drunk or on other drugs, which I have never done.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the deceased. Okay, so let's say that you ignored everything that Eamon and I have been telling you and you decide to play with the board anyways. One thing you should not ask is to speak with the dead. Maybe you want to try and contact Uncle Tom or Great Aunt Becky. You know, like check in and see what it's like in the afterlife. No, leave your relatives alone and focus on your current life. Demons can trick you by pretending to be the person that you want to get in contact with. You may ask them questions that only your relatives would know just to prove that it's them. But guess what? Demons are tricksters. They can find out the answers to these questions. So you may think you're communicating with old Grandma Gertrude, when in reality you're talking to frickin' Zozo or the devil himself. And as soon as people think that they're talking to a friendly spirit, they let their guard down. That's exactly when demons sweep in and harm you. Coming in at number 4, we have the hard-hitting questions. So there are tons of questions out there that you probably want to know the answers to. Like, at a movie theater, which armrest is yours?
Both of them.
Seriously, no.
Both of them.
No, but how do you know? Like, is it just kind of like, I'll take the left and then you take the left?
I go with what my dominant arm is. So if I'm right-handed, so I'll be like,
True.
I'll just push them out of the way. You just have to dominate.
I don't know, I feel awkward, but it's like, why are you sitting so close when there's so many seats around? And people just like to sit right next to me and there's like whole rows and I'm like,
You just breathe your air. It's like, can you not?
It's a good movie, isn't it? I digress. Or did the brain name itself? It did. Or is my husband cheating on me with a younger woman?
Most likely.
Seriously, all legit questions we want the answers to. But there are some that are better left unanswered. So don't ask questions that you aren't ready to hear the answers to. Take that cheating question, for example. If the board said yes, your husband or wife or partner is cheating on you, how would that make you feel? Pretty crappy, right?
And you'd have no one to blame for that crappiness but yourself, since you literally asked for it. And again, I totally understand the appeal. You're communicating with an all-knowing entity that could answer all your burning questions, but they also have no reason or motivation to answer truthfully about any of your questions. So, okay, what if they did say yes to the cheating question? You confront your partner. You're so adamant you're right because the Ouija board said so. You end up getting divorced. Your life is in ruins. It goes to Turns out the spirit was lying all along.
Played a trick on you. Now who's the fool? You are.
You are. Filling at number 3 star is asking if they're a demon. Now, not every spirit you communicate with when playing with a Ouija board is gonna be a demon. I think the most likely scenario is talking to a ghost, and I get that they're less scary than demons, but honestly not by much. Demons are evil. Never forget, masters of manipulation, demons can make you do whatever they want without you even knowing you're doing it for them. Why ask the entity if it's a demon? What can you even do if it says yes? It's literally stronger than you and you can't even see it. Are you gonna shit yourself and run for the hills? Are you gonna have small chit chat with it? No, you're gonna end that session and hope it hasn't already got its hooks in you. Most demons will lie and become friends with you just so you trust them. Then they'll control you and use you as a puppet out of sheer boredom. Do you want to be a demon's plaything? No, you're better than that, Damon. Demon questions are a no-no. I don't know who Damon is, I just randomly made up that name.
Moving on to number 2, we have revenge. In life, chances are you will get done dirty by multiple people. That sounds really wrong. Okay, lots of people will do you wrong.
still sounds really bad. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they deserve a cruel punishment, right? Unless they did cheat on you. No, I'm just kidding. So when you're playing with the board, don't ask a spirit to help you get revenge on someone you don't like. This could go wrong a number of ways. The first one being that spirits may not just get a little revenge. They may make the person get into a fatal car crash or push them down the stairs and leave them permanently paralyzed. Not only that, but they don't do these favors for free. They aren't a charity. So if they help you out with something, chances are they'll want something in return. And who knows what that might be? Haven't you all heard about the saying, don't make a deal with the devil? Who knows what they will do to you in exchange?
And finally, at number 1, we have the other side. Never under any circumstance ask a Ouija spirit to show you the other side or bring you there. It's called the other side for a reason. It's way over there and we don't need to be there. Any spirit or entity you communicate with isn't on the other side by choice. They're stuck there as punishment for whatever reason. So it's definitely not going to be the rainbows and butterflies utopia you imagined in your head. The entity could also trick you just to escape themselves. They could bring you to the other side and swap places with you by either leaving you there and stepping into the real world themselves or possessing your human body while your spirit and soul are just stuck on the other side. Goodbye.
Seriously, who wants to see what goes on over there after hours? No one does. No matter how curious you are, don't ask to be brought there or don't ask what it's like. It's not sunshine and roses, I can tell you that much. I know you're curious, but curiosity killed the cat. Just saying, just saying.
The dead cat's probably on the other side now.
And that's all for today's video. Let's move on to our comment shout out portion.
We'll be shouting out comments from our video, Top 10 Scary Questions to Never Ask a Ouija Board.
The first part to this series.
Okay, this one is from Amir, I think. Wow, deadass my favorite 2 hosts.
Oh, I'm flattered. Thank you. I'm also so awkward when I receive a compliment. I'm like, oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I do these like weird things with my hands.
And your voice goes up like 3 octaves.
Really high. Oh, thank you. We both did it too. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, DC Comics Central says, oh my god, my 2 favorite hosts together. This is seriously a dream come true. Lindsay and Eamon, you 2 are so beautiful and amazing. Please, can you do more videos together? We are.
We have more collabs in the future. So
coming up. Stay tuned.
Ooh.
Push that notification.
Ring the little bell. Ding a ding ding. To get notified when there's a collab.
This one is savage. Monty Davis asked, when did Hassan become pregnant? Firstly,
That's so rude.
the disrespect. Firstly, that's not even how you spell my last name. And secondly, everyone gained a little quarantine weight, okay? I'm not pregnant. I'm just working on it, okay? Sometimes you order too many Uber Eats for like 3 months. Deal with it,
That's
Monty.
so rude though.
I'm blocking you out of my life.
Patricia Gugino commented, I saw this thing about how Ouija boards are intended use for 8 years plus. So you need to be a legal adult to drink, but only 8 years old to summon a freaking demon? It's true. Unlike the little Walmart boxes, it says recommended 8 plus.
What? Do 8-year-olds even know what a demon is?
I don't even know like what. I don't even know.
no,
Don't
no,
do it, because then they're
no.
gonna do it by accident and actually summon something, and they're not even gonna know it.
And then your child's literally gonna be Lucifer, and you
Yeah.
won't even know.
That's scary. Sarah Smith commented, why can't ghosts take a joke? Jokes have been around since the beginning of time. Also, what if you're contacting a comedian? That's a good question. I would love to contact like a comedian and just
And then just joke around.
just
with
joke
them.
around the whole time.
But then you're gonna think they're trustworthy, but they're not. They're gonna stab you in the back with a
I
joke.
don't know. Medium-sized Dave commented at 18 seconds, the one on the right looks like a mom who's trying too hard to be cool and hip. Can't remember her name. I don't know who he's referring to.
I was on the right, was I not?
You were on the right if they're watching the video, but I was actually on the right, like
but they
on
don't
my
know that.
right.
They don't know that.
So then
Did you just
look-
include a hate comment for me?
They already called me pregnant. Not my mom who's trying too hard. See, I always get the like mom references. Somebody called me a Karen. Somebody said I look and sound like one, but I don't act like
That's
one.
rude.
I'm listening to Top 10 Scary Questions to Never Ask a Ouija Board by Most Amazing Top 10. And I am drawing a mer person. Well, mermaid / kraken lady. I don't quite know. just something pretty and I'm drawing it or coloring it, and
her bed with Jake scrawled on it in big letters. And it clearly wasn't any of the friends, since everyone was in the basement at the time and no one else was home. Now the girls freaked out and broke the board into pieces, thinking it would stop the evil. Did it? Did it stop the evil? Let me know, Kristen. Comment down below. Kristen.
Slide into number 4, Reddit user No Springs. When our friend here was about 12 or 13 years old, they decided to get together with some friends and play Ouija. At first, the board started spelling things out that apparently scared them, and then wrote out, "I could see you through the window," followed by, "I could see you through his eyes," and then, "I'm under the car." Somehow this group of brave teens mustered up the courage to go outside into the dark night and check under the car, where they found a hissing black cat. Bad vibes. Of course, scared to death, the group of friends ran back inside, which is when the power immediately shut off. A few minutes later, it turned back on, but the group decided to stay up all night long and never touch the board again.
Feeling on 3-star is careful what you wish for. This one really gave me the creeps, to be honest, and was shared by Nom Nam on Reddit. They shared that about 15 years back, his sister had some friends over and they were all watching a horror movie in the basement. Already the start of a very horrific night, just by the sounds of that. The friends also had a Ouija board with them, so they of course tried it. Dramatically, they started cussing at it, calling it fake and so forth, and then went back to watching the movie. Out of nowhere, all the lights and electricity goes out in the house, and they all start screaming their heads off, which is, I mean, an accurate response. The TV then comes back on, blaring this awful noise, and at this point, the girls are hysterically crying. The TV then turns off, and when it turns back on, the display is completely black, except for the words, "This is not a game anymore." I would have shot myself at that point. And at this point, everyone runs out of the house, completely forgetting their dog in there. When they finally build up the courage to come back, their dog was waiting on the front porch with the darkest eyes ever and the look of pure evil.
Now at number 2, Ouija prediction. When Inez was 12 years old, she and her friend Becky decided it was Ouija time in her house located in Cambridge, Minnesota. Middle of the day, the girls were using the Ouija board Inez got for Christmas, and they asked what Inez was in her past life. The board answered, spelling out Rebecca Lynn Peltzer Miller was there. Inez had no idea who this was, so she didn't think much of it, and asked the board if she'll meet anyone from her past life here. The board answered yes, and then upon the girls asking who, the board spelled out Vincent Daniel Douglas. Fast forward 2 years, Inez has yet to meet someone with this name. She joins a production of the musical Annie, and the lead opposite her was named Danny Douglas. Inez claims although the two had never met before, she felt as if she had known him her entire life. Upon remembering her Ouija board encounter, Inez asked if Danny Douglas was his real name, to which he replied that his first name was Vincent, and the name was a family name that was passed down through generations. Talk about life-changing.
And finally, at number 1 is close the session. That is rule number 1, you guys, of playing with a Ouija board. Go wild, do you, live your best life, but do not just get up and leave. Close the session, otherwise the portal is just going to be open for things you don't want coming out. Ain't nobody got time for that. So this tragic story was shared by Reddit user Cherry Candy, who said this happened when she was in her first year of university. Her and her 5 friends started playing with a homemade Ouija board, and they contacted a spirit whose name she's since forgotten. Either way, as they were talking to it, the doorbell rang, so one of the friends left as her dad had come to pick her up. Now these friends didn't know they had to close the session, so they just didn't do it. Rookie mistake. The friend that left early started acting weird in the upcoming weeks and stopped hanging out with the group altogether. Months later, she said she went to get a cleansing because she wasn't feeling herself and normal, and the lady she went to screamed as soon as she stepped inside the room, claiming the friend had a spirit with her. The lady shared that the spirit the friends had contacted had started following the girl because the friends never closed the session. What am I telling you? Close the session. The cleanse was not a success, and the friend actually tried committing suicide thrice after that. She later dropped out of uni and moved away, and the user hasn't heard from her since. Starting us off at number 10 is The Morgue. This one's some 25-year-old Tommy from New York who shared this board experience he had as a freshman. Tommy and his dorm mates took out a Ouija board and encountered the worst possible thing. Now to preface this, the dorm they lived in used to be a morgue back in the day, so you already know it's crawling with afterlife. Either way, Tommy and co were just joking around, not knowing they were about to ruin everything. The spirit or spirits they were talking to told them that 83 demons would come for them. 83, that is a very specific and high number of demons. A whole lot Tommy better run, cause they gonna get you. Next thing you know, the entire dorm building is haunted. The girls there start being able to sleep out of fear fear since their items started going missing, their lights would come on and off all day, messages started being written on their mirrors and their lipstick, like nothing was okay. Things got so bad to the point that they had to get a priest to come in and bless the building, and after that everything went back to normal. I can just imagine Tommy and his friends, they're probably like the popular annoying ones that everybody hated but also low-key liked. You know what I mean? The annoying popular boys. I hate Tommy and co. Coming in at number 9 is Pam's mother. So this girl called Pam grew up in a quite a religious household, and honestly her life was pretty stable for the most part until her mum started using a Ouija board. Pam came home after a few weeks of being away to find her mother a completely changed woman. From a pleasant, soft-spoken person, she became scary. Her mum started consulting her Ouija board before making any decision and would take it with her everywhere she went. One night Pam was trying to fall asleep, but she had a sinking feeling that she was being watched, and she wasn't wrong. Her mum was in the corner of her room, and when Pam started complaining about her fear, she said she hoped God was watching over her. Her mum then laughed and said something was definitely protecting her, but it wasn't God. Later the same night, Pam heard what sounded like a party going on downstairs. At 3 a.m, she walked downstairs to see the planchette on the board moving by itself and her mother sitting behind it with multiple voices coming out of her. They were male, female, demonic, you name it, they were coming out of her. After she went to bed, Pam found the board and burnt it, which did nothing to stop her mum, who then went out and just bought another one. After her mum died, the board disappeared from the house, but Pam believes she's still being haunted by whatever her mum summoned. At number 8, we have the horse. This one was shared by Redditor Overdose Baby Blue, who said her mum always used to warn her about using Ouija boards because of what she went through herself. The mum shared that during one instance of using a Ouija board, the spirit they were talking to seemed quite violent and actually had it in for her. She shrugged it off and got in her car to go home as everything was normal. But as she was driving home, a horse literally appeared out of nowhere and started running towards her car. The mom ended up hitting it and killing it in a very gruesome way, but she was 100% sure it was to do with the Ouija board, because how the hell would a random black horse appear in the middle of the city in the afternoon? That is not a usual habitat for horses. Like, where'd you come from? Filling at number 7 slot is Cindy. Now, Cindy was a 13-year-old girl, the middle child of 6 kids from a very devout Christian family that lived in northern Maine. While she was in the 8th grade, one of her friends let her borrow her Ouija board that weekend, and so that night, Cindy and her sisters started asking it questions. Knowing their parents would think it was sacrilegious, they did it at night, in secret, with nothing but a candle on. After they were done, there was something about the board Cindy couldn't stop thinking about. She started becoming obsessed and making a list of questions she wanted to ask the spirit. Now, there was an hour after school every day where Cindy was the only one home, so every day she started using the Ouija board. The planchette spelled out hi and that its name was Jake, which was freaky as hell considering she had a friend called Jake who had died in a car crash when they were in 4th grade. She then asked it if it was really him, to which the board spelled out yes. The two continued talking for the next few days, but the conversation started getting darker and angrier, and Cindy realized she maybe wasn't talking to Jake after all. 2 weeks later, the entity finally told her it was a demon, but if she told anyone, it would kill her. Found Cindy in the corner of her room crying, and she was later admitted to a mental facility to from the emotional damage she incurred. Now at number 6 is 10 hours. So this one was shared by Reddit user Lena Resden, who shared when they were about 14 or 15, they played with the Ouija board quite often. One night at 9 p.m, she was playing with her friend and started getting some very bizarre responses. The user couldn't remember them now since the incident happened 27 years ago, but the entity did say that he was from Malaysia and that he was there to protect them. That's apparently the last thing they remembered because they blinked and it was suddenly 7 a.m. They didn't go to bed or something, they just literally lost 10 hours of their life and they have no idea what happened in that time or where that time even went. Neither of them remembered. They just looked at each other and boom, 7 a.m. Like, excuse me? I want those 10 hours of my life back. Coming in at number 5 is March Madness. So back in March of 1920, a small town in Southern California was rife with hysteria after police arrested 7 people who had stripped nude and started acting mad after playing with a Ouija board. Over the next few days, more and more people started falling victim to this Ouija board-induced insanity. One police officer even went nude and started running around a local bank while screaming hysterically, and mind you, he had had no contact with the board. A 15-year-old girl involved in the nudity and hysteria explained she was acting the way she was because after playing with the board she could now communicate so effectively with spirits she didn't even need a board. She could just see them everywhere she went. At number 4 is the family. So this one was shared by Michelle Castillo Fernandez on Facebook, who said this happened to her brother's friend. He played with a Ouija board at his house and everything literally went to show completely. His family started seeing marbles and coins being thrown around the house and rolling over the floors. The weirdest incident was when the mom was in the yard and saw a dog. So obviously she called out to it, and when it turned around, it had the face of an older man. Like, that is not the kind of dog I'm calling. I'm just want to pet it, you know? We're not looking for that. Things got progressively worse to the point they had to summon a priest to exorcise the house. But even then, it's not the house the entity was attached to, it's the family. They still see black shadow figures follow them wherever they go, and it's been years since the incident. Filling an unfreeze is the phone. Falara Peak shared this one on Facebook and said when she was young, her family moved into an old house, so obviously she thought it was fitting that she play with a Ouija board. If I moved into an old house, playing with a Ouija board is not even the first 10 things I'd think of doing. Not even the first 20. She tried it with her friend upstairs, and while they were playing, the rotary phone started clicking like the receiver was being tweaked. Thinking nothing of it, they went on and continued playing. A few weeks later, Falara was just chilling downstairs when she heard the phone clicking upstairs. The family had another phone downstairs which had a red light that would come on when the line above was being used. And every time the phone upstairs would click, the red light would come on as well. That night, as she tried to sleep, she suddenly felt a real pair of hands on her shoulders, shaking her back and forth. She thought at first she was dreaming until she heard the humming. Terrified, the family moved out of the house very shortly after that incident, but Falara still suffers from nightmares about it, and I don't blame you. I would too. Don't touch me. You don't know me like that. Now at number 2 is The Power. This one was submitted by an anonymous person who said when he was about 8 or 9 years old, him and his older sister would play with Ouija boards a lot. His sister would play with it in her room, and over time the entity started telling them things they would have no way of knowing. The more they played, the more empowered they felt, and kind of like they power to make anything and everything happen. They believed the demon Zozo was giving them that power. As they played more, things got intense. Items would levitate around the room during a session, and the siblings got to the point where they wouldn't even end the sessions. They just leave them open, letting anything cross over. That is like very confident of them. Months later, they started seeing dark figures around their house, and items started being thrown at them. The two would sleep in their rooms and wake up naked, facing a completely different direction. Their pillows also started having hot spots, and they would see shadow figures just perched on their beds with them at all times. The figures would terrorize his sister so much that she moved into his own room, so she just couldn't sleep alone anymore. And that's all the person shared. Are you still being terrorized? I would love to know, and I hope you're not. And finally, at number 1, we have The Goodbye. Now, this one was shared by Redditor Celine the Moon Tyson, and she said that when she was 14, she and her 2 friends decided to play with a Ouija board. They didn't think anything would happen until the planchette started spelling out hello. Intrigued, they started asking the thing questions like where it was, etc., and it responded vaguely, but then all of a sudden it started moving towards random letters and numbers on its own. Freaking out, they stopped playing, stuffed the board back in the box, and tried to forget what just happened. And that's where it all went tits up. Now, the whole weekend after that, they could tell there was some sinister energy in the air. On the Monday, the user saw a tall, shadowy figure standing in the corner of her bedroom, just looking at her, but she tried to convince herself she was just seeing things. People need to stop doing that. You are seeing what you are seeing. That night, she felt a heavy sensation on her body all night, and when she woke up, she had scratches all over her arms. Coincidence? I think not. It got worse the more time went on. The user started hearing voices and would wake up with bruises. A year later, she moved house, but the spirit went with her. It would throw her off her bed every single night, so we know it was attached to her, not the house. She claims now her whole body is filled with bruises, and the voices she hears have been getting so loud to the point sometimes she can't even think because the voices are all she hears. She would go places and just not remember going there, and the last thing she remembered was a spirit in the corner of her room saying, "You will join us. We will pull you in." Ugh. Would not like to be her, I'm sorry. Starting us off at number 10, we have The Spirit. This one's from Reddit user Gothsby29, who shared that this occurred a few days after her ex had lost his friend in an airplane crash. The couple took out the Ouija board to use it, and the friend was very present, very scared, and very much wanting to communicate. Now, the duo got a bit freaked out, decided to stop using it, and as soon as they did, the user felt this presence in the corner of the room. She took a deep breath and closed her eyes, and all of a sudden, the planchette started moving around the board, spelling words on its own. Exhausted and now drained, the user took a nap, and 30 exact minutes later, she bolted out of bed because she saw the skeletal spirit standing in the corner of the room. The spirit ran at her and started screaming with a massive black mouth. The user obviously started screaming, and her boyfriend woke up and tried to get it off her, but then she just ran straight out of the house. Coming in at number 9 is The Devil. This one was shared by Reddit user Bo Whoop, who said that grandma has completely banned Ouija boards from her house due to one incident that scarred her growing up. When she was younger, her and her friends decided to mess with a Ouija board, and after asking who they were talking to, the planchette spelled out Satan, which is probably not the person you want to be talking to. Honestly, at that point, I would have been that SpongeBob meme where it's like, I'ma head out. Nah, no Satan for me. After the revelation, the friend whose board it was started convulsing and foaming at the mouth for 10 straight minutes before stopping. After that point, the friend claimed there always seemed to be this ominous presence lurking in that house up until the family finally moved. Not today, Satan. That's why I refuse to play with a Ouija board ever. I don't need that in my life. I'm smarter than that. I've done 4 videos on the case. Not happening. At number 8, we have The Journey. This one comes from an anonymous Redditor who said she used a Ouija board and unknowingly let something into her house that eventually started physically abusing her. She claimed it started off with always having this feeling that you're being watched when you're alone, then all the footsteps that she could hear, the doors opening and closing, then it progressed to her being shaken awake by something at night, the covers being pulled off her, the entity even started whispering her name around the house, making her think she was going insane. This entity was essentially gaslighting her, and it was working. The Ouija board then started disappearing for days on end and then showed up in random places the user had never put it. The user became obsessed, and soon she started seeing this black shadow or mass in the doorway of her room. Then came the hair pulling, the scratching, the pricking of her fingers, the choking. Once this entity pinned her down in bed and whispered Latin into her ear. After deciding enough was bloody enough, a priest came to bust the house and the entity finally disappeared. She probably didn't close the session. Rule number 1, close your session, kids. Filling at number 7 slot is Death. This one was shared on Thought Catalog by a girl who went to Northern Ontario with her friends for a chess tournament. At night, when the games were done, the group didn't really know how to entertain themselves, so they busted out their handy-dandy Ouija board. They asked it a few questions, one being if the entity knew if any of them was going to die. Plot twist, you're all gonna die. Either way, the board ended up spelling out one of the people's names and then a date which was in the next year. The next year, that friend died of cancer in his knee, but he knew about it 6 months beforehand, but apparently the entity on the other side of the Ouija board knew a year beforehand.
And into the number 6 spot, the Mexican Ouija board story. 22-year-old Alexandra Huerta, her brother 23-year-old Sergio Huerta, and their 18-year-old cousin Fernando Cuvez were all hospitalized after messing around with a Ouija board while in Mexico. Apparently just minutes into using the board, the 3 young adults were showing symptoms of someone possessed. More specifically, Alexandra was growling and flailing her arms as if she was being controlled by an evil entity. Sergio and Fernando allegedly started showing symptoms of blindness, deafness, and hallucinations. At first, the family's parents asked a priest to perform an exorcism, but he refused because they weren't regular churchgoers. The family then called paramedics who had to restrain Alexandra so she wouldn't hurt herself or anyone else, and provided all through with painkillers, sedatives, and eye drops, which seemed to work and stop whatever it was that took over these 3 young adults.
Coming in at number 5 is Get the Boy. This was shared by an anonymous Redditor who said their friend mentioned that they had a Ouija board, so they decided to mess with it. Big no-no, my friend. Now, initially, their friend said no, but then she warmed up to the idea and agreed to get it out as long as she didn't have to participate. The user set it up and asked if anyone was there and got no response. Then, trying to be a cool teenager, as they all are, they said if anything is in here and not talking, you're a coward. And again, after getting no response, they just put the board away. About a week later, the user was sleeping during a thunderstorm. How very cliche, I know. They woke up midway to complete darkness and tried going back to sleep. 30 seconds later, they heard someone or something whisper "Get the boy" in a very raspy voice. Thinking it was them just hearing things, the user went back to sleep to then hear "Get the boy" much louder before hearing a door slam shut downstairs. He up and got the hell out of there because he was the only one at home at the time, so we're not trying to mess with anyone. No Ouija entity, no.
Now at 4, a story from Reddit user MillyBob35. Millie explains how they're from Edinburgh, which is famous for having an underground city. Decided to be adventurous, Millie and her friend decided to spend the night and were drawn to the Ouija board, one of the activities available. I guess this underground city is almost an amusement of sorts. Regardless, for about 30 minutes the board was informing them of who haunted the location. Eventually, Millie asked if she could leave, to which the board said yes. 10 minutes later, when Millie's friend asked if she could leave, the board said no. The movements on the board got faster and more erratic, and even the room's temperature temperature dropped. It took a handful of people in the room alongside Millie and her friend to start crying for this thing to let everyone go. Following the incident, Millie won't go near another board, and I really don't blame her.
Filling our number 3 slot is the blackout. So this one was shared by Ashley Elaine, who said when she was about 15 years old, her grandma asked her to use a Ouija board to try and contact her uncle who had died at birth. Now initially it did seem like they were talking to the uncle, but after a while the personality of the entity changed and got darker. It started getting cruel and possessive, and eventually
Power off.
Okay. I think this one's almost done. I just have to fill in the background shells. And I will be back later. I will be back to do 40K on my next stream. I'm going to do probably 2 40K and then do a paranormal stream. That's how I think I'm going to do this. So 2 40K, 1 paranormal, and then 2 more 40K. I hope you guys enjoy. Bye.